And this is where the whole Banksy story stops being quirky and starts feeling like a full-blown investigation thriller. Because it actually is. It's a very, very, very intriguing read. If you get the time to read, go through across 8,000 words of an article, I highly recommend going through it. If nothing else, just for the drama, because it's very, very dramatic and very,
I am sold. I
yeah,
shall.
yeah. Because until this point, everything we've been talking about, the anonymity, the theories, the speculation, it all exists in this slightly romantic, mysterious space, right? You like not knowing. It's fun. It's part of the brand. But what Reuters did was remove that comfort entirely. They treated this like an actual case, right? And
Hmm.
before you ask, there was absolutely nothing, no particular incident which led them down this path. It was not like, oh my God, Banksy might be alleged to do something horrible like this. So that's why we'll be looking into it. Nothing of that sort. Just because he was Banksy. Okay. And there was a very particular incident, not necessarily bad. There was just an incident which sort of kicked off the entire thing. So all of this started back in 2022 in Ukraine, which already tells you that this is not going to be a very normal art story, right? In late 2022, in a village outside Kiev called Horenka, which, by the way, had been bombed heavily during the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, right? I mean, to call it a war would be a stretch. It's basically Russia
Yeah.
trying to occupy
Russia
Ukraine. So,
attacking. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, so in this village outside Kiev called Horenka, an ambulance pulled up to a destroyed apartment building. Not a gallery, not a studio, a literal war zone, right? And three people step out. Two of them are masked, hoodies, caps, faces covered. The third is very visibly not anonymous. He's unmasked, has one arm, and is walking on prosthetic legs. And immediately, like when I try to paint this picture to you, you're like, this is way too dramatic for someone that's about to basically paint on a broken down wall, right? I mean, why
Hmm.
why does this need all of this build up? The two masked men pull out cardboard stencils from the ambulance, which is a very bizarre detail, I might add, that
Yeah.
they're coming out of an ambulance, tape them onto what used to be an interior wall, and start spray painting. Within minutes, this absurd image appears: a bearded man in a bathtub, casually scrubbing himself in the middle of a bombed out building. And then they leave. That's it. No announcement, no press, just drop art in a war zone and disappear. So yeah, these three random people drove up to this place in an ambulance, and within an hour or two, basically they. And just in case you're wondering how Banksy manages to so quickly and do pretty much these paintings appear to sort of show up overnight, right? And if you were to do it freehand, it's very difficult to do it in
Yeah,
such
of
a short
course.
time
Yeah.
scale, right? So Banksy is known for his stenciled 3D drawings. So he uses
Hmm.
stencils. And obviously a lot of effort and time goes into developing those stencils. And
Hmm.
Yeah.
that in itself is a form of art, right? You can't just randomly pull out anything and start drawing.
Wait, who saw them? I didn't understand this. Who saw the guys in the ambulance?
I'm coming to that, right? Now, when these murals started appearing across Ukraine, and this was not the only one, this is just one of the first ones that showed up, one of the more popular ones, but there were multiple murals like this, not this one, but different murals across various war zones in Ukraine, right? So Reuters basically went, okay, how the hell is this happening? Right? Because this isn't just art anymore. There is a lot of logistics, movement,
Hmm.
access, timing, all of this is involved. Like intense planning needs to take place, right? And when there is such intense planning, there has to be a paper trail of some sort, right? And that is something you can actually investigate because you have documentation, you have some formal signatures, visas, passports, stuff like that involved, right? So Reuters went to Horenka, not with cameras and headlines, but with something much more interesting: a photo lineup, like an actual police style lineup. they start showing locals pictures of people who have been rumored to be Banksy.
Hmm.
And this is where it gets slightly uncomfortable because now we're watching journalists do what feels like witness identification. They spoke to residents, including a woman who actually interacted with the artists. And it was this woman who gave them this first hand account of these three people pulling up from coming in an ambulance, pulling out of the ambulance, and making this artwork. She was the one who was giving the first hand account.
Hmm.
She made coffee for them, which is such a casually insane detail. Like, imagine serving coffee to Banksy and not knowing, right? She says she saw the painters without masks. So Reuters showed her photos, right? She kept saying
Hmm.
no, no, no. And then she sees one face and her reaction changes entirely. Her eyes widen, which is the most dramatic possible reaction you can get short of someone saying, that's him, right? And even though
Hmm.
she verbally denies it, out of some innate sense of, maybe wanting to preserve the identity of this artist, the physical reaction is doing a lot of the heavy lifting and talking, right? And that pretty much gave away the game. And now you might wonder who was the person she reacted to, right? That person's name was Robert Del Naja. Does anyone know who Robert Del Naja is?
No.
Hmm.
This is extremely interesting because Del Naja is not just some random suspect. He is the front man of a little known band called as Massive Attack, a major,
Oh,
and also a graffiti
yes.
artist from Bristol, the same scene Banksy is believed to have come from, right?
Hmm.
So, in case Ashmita, you still don't know if you haven't heard of who Massive Attack are. It's a very famous
I
band,
haven't.
right? Also,
Yeah.
the theme song of House MD is Massive Attack's Teardrop. Okay,
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
right? So, just trying to draw some context for you so that you can join the dots.
Thanks.
Just
Yes, yes, thanks.
yeah,
Because I had no clue who you were talking about for a while there. Okay.
it's a very famous song. If you just listen back to it, I'm sure you must have heard to the song. It's Teardrop by Massive Attack.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure Prakhar knows who Massive Attack are, right? It's the
Yeah. Yeah.
very famous band, right? So, interestingly, Robert Del Naja has been rumored for years to be Banksy, partly because Banksy artworks have mysteriously appeared in cities right after Massive Attack toured there, right? So, wherever Massive Attack went, a Banksy artwork would show up. And
Hmm.
then, obviously, people naturally drew the conclusion that what if this guy here, the front man of Massive Attack, is Banksy in hiding all
Yes,
along?
Banksy.
And it makes sense, right? You're already famous for
That would
one
be
thing,
fun.
right? You're
Yeah, that
already
would be fun.
extremely famous for one thing. So what
Yeah.
if you just did another thing on the side that most people don't know but can speculate all they want, right? It's like hiding in plain sight almost, right?
To be
So
fair,
yeah,
she could have widened her eyes because she recognized a famous man. That seems
quite
like a
possible,
very thin, like
quite
a
possible.
very thin, premise to
Yeah,
base an investigation on.
you would be right, but yeah, if you remember that at the top of the episode, I had very briefly mentioned that Daily Mail had done some sort of an investigation into this back in 2008.
But it was also Daily Mail.
Exactly. But what came out of that investigation was they drew a short list of like three suspects. Not suspects is a strong word, but like three likely uh, Banksy sort of OG Banksys, like the original person who acts as Banksy. And the shortlist had sort of three names, the most likely of which was Robin Gunningham, who was like and his photos were also released around that time, just
Hmm.
normally, right? But because it was Daily Mail, people didn't take it as seriously as you might want to. And also, the more likelier version happened that like, if you had to weigh this random nobody from Bristol known as Robin Gunningham and this really famous rock star from the same city who is Robert Del Naja, and the artworks show up wherever he visits. So people chose to believe that Robert Del Naja was Banksy for
Hmm.
the longest time, right? Because it sort of logically it sort of made sense. Anyway, All of this sounds like a conspiracy theory of some sort, right? That is until Reuters checked immigration records, right? And they find that Del Naja did, in fact, enter Ukraine around the exact same time these murals started showing up, right?
Hmm.
And not just him, there was another collaborator along with him, right? And here's the twist: there is still no evidence that Robin Gunningham, the originally believed to be Banksy guy,
Hmm.
the most widely accepted Banksy, entered Ukraine during that time. So now you have a problem because these things don't add up, right? So
Hmm.
here's this guy who we believe to be Banksy, and here's this guy who is this very famous guy who could also be Banksy. But Robin Gunningham, who is believed to be very widely believed to be Banksy, is not shown having immigration records into Ukraine. But who drew these murals, right?
Hmm.
So they also sort of were circling around the conclusion that maybe Banksy is Del Naja. Maybe Robert Del Naja is Banksy, in fact. And that was the belief for the longest time. There are still people who believe that to be true, by the way, right? Despite all of this. And this is where Reuters pulls out what is probably the most concrete piece of evidence in the entire investigation. Something from way before Banksy was even famous. And for this, we go all the way back to the year 2000, right? So Reuters dug up some old police records from New York in 2000, back when Banksy was just some random guy doing graffiti on walls. On a certain day in a cold morning in New York at 4:20 in the morning, which is very on brand, might I add, the police catch a man vandalizing a billboard. They arrest him, and because the damage is significant, they process it properly. Like there's
Hmm.
paperwork, there's a court file, and crucially, there's a handwritten confession. And now you might ask, what was the name on that confession? Robin Gunningham was the name on that confession, right? Back in 2000 in New York City police records, right?
Hmm.
Not Del Naja, not anyone else, just Robin Gunningham.
Do we have an image of the vandalized this thing billboard?
Can you see this now?
Yeah.
So
No,
basically,
I
what he
cannot.
vandalized was there. You can you see that billboard on top of the building?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, I think, it was a Marc Jacobs ad. Marc Jacobs is a fashion brand, luxury fashion
Hmm.
brand.
Yeah.
So the story goes something on the lines of this: Banksy used to stay on the street opposite this, right, along with a couple of his friends. And this billboard popped up and it used to annoy these people. So Banksy just walked up there and sort of vandalized the billboard. You see that the teeth are colored in the billboard if you notice
Hmm.
closely.
Yeah.
I can see it. I just don't think this is this is Banksy. But go ahead. Other people have done far more work into this, so I want to know why they think that this was Banksy.
Because this is the confession that they found in the New York City police records. And the name is signed signature, handwritten confession by a person known as Robin Gunningham, who admitted to
Hmm.
vandalizing that billboard. Right? This is an actual copy of that. So now you have something that is no longer just speculation, right? This is documented evidence, legal evidence, tying that name to early Banksy style activity. Again, like I referred to in 2008, the Daily Mail investigation doesn't look so tabloid esque anymore. It loads me to say this, but it looks almost accurate, right? But then the story takes yet another turn because after 2008, after that identity starts circulating, Gunningham just disappears off the face of the earth. No records of him
Hmm.
after that, right? No public records, no trace. It's like he just opts out of existence altogether.